Hi, I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting and family relationships as well as good communication all over the world. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the not so known secret to parenting success. Parenting is one of the hardest things that a person ever does. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of peace if you've been having a few bumps along the way. But I'll tell you what, there are secrets to success that just don't seem to be out there anymore. There are things that parents used to understand that made parenting a lot easier that now modern parents are stumbling through and wondering why it seems so hard, when maybe for their parents it didn't seem as hard back then. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you a full class. Normally, I do just little snips of things on this channel, but I think this class is going to be beneficial. I'm going to be talking about that not so known secret, and when I tell you that secret, then I'm going to lay the whole foundation for what you need to do in your family to make this secret work for you and your children as well. And you're going to want to stick with me all the way to the end, because at the end of this video, I have a special gift for people who want to have increased parenting success, calmness, and happiness in their homes. First, a little bit about me. So I'm the mother of 4. All of my children are grown and gone, but also I did treatment foster care for a number of years for troubled teens. They were all between the ages of 12 and 18, and they all needed treatment. So the whole point of them coming to my home was so that I would help them learn how to fix their relationships, communicate better, overcome their addictions, and find strategies for working with all of their unique processing styles. So all the youth that came to my home had multiple processing differences. Things like ADD, ADHD, OCD, ODD, RAD, FAS, kleptomania, compulsive lying problems, anger control issues, bipolar, autism spectrum. You get the idea. And many of the youth who came to my home did not just have one of those, but had multiple of those things that they were working with all at the same time. They needed somebody who could have the patience to help them with their unique processing, but also could help them achieve and advance and not get stuck with the excuses that they were using because of their processing. So that's why they came to my house. And after just a short time of bringing in these children into my home and helping them learn what I called self-government skills, it got the attention of the world. People started asking me to speak at their conferences, to their support groups, to their church groups, and then the BBC over in England contacted me and asked me if I would be on a program called The World's Strictest Parents. Now, I know that sounds a little bit scary. In fact, if you want to see that episode, you can go to teachingselfgovernment.com. You can see it there, or there are other videos on this channel, which actually I do some reactions to that episode. It's kind of fun to see. So when the BBC made this documentary of my family, they brought 2 troubled teens to stay in my home for 8 days. They were both ages 17. And both of them had dropped out of school. They had a series of addiction problems, as well as they had relationship problems and for sure communication problems. They thought they would see the sparks fly. But what people saw when they came to the Peck family was they saw calmness. And then everybody wondered how. These children are swearing at them. They're trying to fight with them, but the family is not fighting them. Yet for some reason, the children are changing for the better. And they're not having to be aggressive at all. What is going on? People wanted to know. Well, I didn't think what I was doing was that special, but over the years, I've realized that some of the things that I've been teaching in my home with foster children actually are revolutionary, or maybe we should just call them historical, because they are based on truths that other parents from the dark ages used to know. So let's talk about what some of those things are. So this brings me to that not so known secret. What is it that people have understood for such a long time that many parents nowadays don't even think of? It's a principle called self-government. Self-government is being able to determine the cause and effect of any given situation and possessing a knowledge of your own behaviors so that you can control them. So that means there's two pieces to that definition. So number one, when a person is self-governed, then that means that they understand cause and effect. Super important. In fact, I realized with all of the foster children that came to my home, they didn't understand cause and effect. They didn't understand that when they lied to somebody or when they didn't follow instructions from a parent, that parent felt distant from them, didn't trust them, wasn't sure if they could actually teach them. So they started manipulating them. In fact, they didn't know that when they manipulated other people, that it would ruin their relationships. And many of their parents didn't understand cause and effect either. They didn't understand that when they yelled at their child or tried to control their child in aggressive ways, that their child was actually learning to step back from them, hide from them, and not trust them as well. So understanding cause and effect is huge. Many people think, well, yes, if I throw this up, it must come down. That's cause and effect. But there's so much more to it than that, especially when we're talking about relationships and our thought processes as well as our personal behaviors. So if a person learns self-government, that means they understand the cause and effect of any given situation. And the second part is that they possess a knowledge of their own behaviors so that they can control them. That means that the person does the hardest thing, which is to look at themselves, examine themselves honestly, and say, okay, do I like what I see? And not only that, because we're not going to spend time beating ourselves up, right? But wait, is this the direction I'm going to get the effect that I want? If I want a certain type of a bond or relationship with my child or with my parent, then that's my goal. That's the effect that I want. Are my actions actually going to lead to this? What am I really doing? And if not, what do I need to do to change? And then they make plans to change themselves so that they don't have to manipulate or try to emotionally control another person in order to get the effect they want. And here's the thing. You start manipulating and emotionally controlling, you take yourself into a place where you don't have integrity anymore in your role as a parent, and you won't get the effects you want. Short term, sure, you might stop a person from doing something that annoys you, but long term, the heart of that child does not turn toward you. And in the end, that's what self-government is all about, is the turning of hearts. So when a person learns self-government, that means that they turn their heart toward truth, toward principle, things that are solid, that they can base all their behaviors and thoughts on. And it means that your children's hearts are turned toward you. We need that more than anything in our society today. The parents' hearts and the children's hearts are turning away from each other. More and more, there is distance, walls, secrecy, privacy, and in fact, in people's homes, they're not talking productively. They may talk about what we're having for dinner or who has to do a chore, but they're not really connecting. And it's because their hearts are not bonded with each other, because in a lot of their interactions, they're manipulating each other emotionally, sometimes even physically. We have to turn the hearts of the family members toward each other in order for everyone to have freedom. Self-government is the recipe for freedom. So I'm from the United States, and in the United States, the founders of our country said that if we were going to maintain our freedom, we had to be a self-governing nation. Self-government. That meant the people had to control themselves first. And when one person controls themselves, it ripples out to other people controlling themselves as well. That makes it so the government doesn't have to handle all of our problems, or somebody else doesn't have to take away all of our fears and concerns. But in the end, we're independent enough, we're self-reliant enough to do it ourselves. So let's talk about what is entailed in this process of creating a self-governed home. home and self-governed relationships, because truly that is a secret to parenting success. The ideal environment for a person to learn self-government is actually within a family government. And isn't that convenient? Because each person arrives to a family. You can't even get here without a mother and a father bringing you here in some way. Now, I know not all families are functional like we would like, and some people struggle. But truly, that is the best environment, a really functioning family for children and for parents to all learn self-government. If you've been parenting for a while, like I have, you know that parenting really is about you learning so much, even though it's also about teaching the children. So what does that family government need to look like? Let's talk about that now. There are two vital elements in creating an environment for a good family government to nurture self-government for parents and children. And I want you to know, this might be bad news to some parents, but hopefully you'll see at the end, after you've been implementing more self-government, that this is some of the best news that you could get. And that is that as a parent, you do need to self-govern yourself in order to really teach it to your children. That doesn't mean you have to be perfect at it, but you have to understand self-government, understand the skills that you need for success so that you can help them utilize those skills too. And we are going to be talking about skills, some really awesome skills in fact. But first, let's talk about these two elements. So there's two elements of self-government that are super important. They are, number one, to have a certain type of tone in your family. So this means the feeling that exists in your home. What is it? Is that tone selfishness? Is that tone entitlement? Is that tone aggressiveness? Is that tone calmness? Is the tone understanding? Is the tone manipulation, stress? What is it? At any given day, it could adjust, but you need to know that this tone is a key piece to create an environment where a person will want to analyze themselves and not blame you for their problems, but learn to fix their problems themselves. This is absolutely possible. In fact, all people have been on the pursuit of this their entire lives. Some of them just don't know it. So there are tone elements that we're going to be discussing in this class that you will want to remember so that you can apply them in your home. The second element that you need to be mindful of is the structure. So there needs to be a certain type of structure in your home that actually supports this self-government learning. So what in the world does that structure look like? It looks like skills, it looks like planning ahead of time, so being deliberate or intentional in your parenting so that everybody knows what everybody else is going to say, how to solve problems, what types of meetings and communications are going to be most effective for helping your family stay the course. All of those types of things are part of the structure. And lucky for you, we're going to be talking about all those things in this video today. You've probably noticed that different personality types actually make differences in parenting styles. So some people are very meticulous, type A, they're a little bit more controlling. They might be micromanaging things all the time, which means they're nagging a lot and they're getting after people because they want things done. Now those people are going to execute on the structure side of things really well. They're like, yes, Nicholeen, give me your structures. I need something else that makes my children care, right? And so then I give them structures, but I worry because I already know that personality type is struggling with tone. It's not that they don't care, because they do care, but in the minute they don't have time to care. They just want to get everything done. And it is the tone that usually presents a caring. What they don't recognize when they're hyper-focused on structure and don't come across as caring is that they actually do have a tone. It's another tone. That tone is called annoyed, controlling, short-tempered, aggressive, manipulative even. It's a different tone. And that tone usually equates to stress for everybody in the family, which then decreases our connection as a group, which is not a good thing. Now on the flip side of that, there's another type of parent. This type of parent really is obsessed about the tone or the feeling. They want to make sure that everything feels just right. They want to make sure there's lots of hugs and kisses. They want to make sure that the child is able to talk about anything. But when it comes to helping the child fix a problem, the execution sometimes doesn't really work out. In fact, lots of times the child is able to manipulate or control the parent and get out of things just by using emotion. So the parent is triggered by emotion or tone, and so then they pour on tone, but they don't know what to do structurally to fix the problem, and they end up very controlled by their child. Now, what usually happens is that there's a person who loves tone and a person who loves structure, and they get married. Because one of them knows the other person has something that they need. And then they have a child. And then guess what happens to that husband and wife? Those partners end up fighting with each other on a regular basis about what the best type of parenting is. When in reality, you can have tone and you can have structure. Most people vacillate back and forth between going toward tone and then trying to improve structure and then realizing their tone's off, back and forth and back and forth. And this puts the whole family on this manipulative pendulum swing, which feels very tiring and unpredictable. When your home is unpredictable, your children will act out more. Predictability decreases anxiety and increases unity. So we want to make sure that we create a predictable environment where both parents, even though they may have different personalities, as well as the child, all gets what they need. That right type of tone and an effective workable structure that everyone can maintain and not get burdened by. So let's talk about the tone first. Okay, so let's look at these tone elements. There are many tone elements. In fact, I could spend probably a good hour just talking about tone. But these are some key ones that a family needs to keep in mind for sure in order to facilitate a change of heart and unity. So unity, I feel like, is kind of a universal thing that all families are going for. Don't we want to be connected and united with each other? I actually wrote a book called Parenting a House United, which details more things than I'm able to discuss in this one class. But this gives you an idea of some of the power that is required to point a family toward unity. Some of that power starts with, what does it feel like? So number one is trust. Now, trust is the opposite of force, so keep that in mind. When you trust in someone, in their goodness, then that means that you are not going to force them. Now, I know some parents might look at me and think I'm insane and say, how can you actually stop somebody from doing X, Y, and Z without forcing sometimes? Because maybe some of the behaviors in their home have gotten that wild. Well, as a foster parent, I could not touch any of the children that came to my home. I would get hauled into court if I touched any of those children. That was not on the table at all. So I had to help them with some of their most extreme behaviors without ever being able to lay a hand on them. Now, could I have yelled or been aggressive? Yeah, maybe. Could I have tried to control everything about their lives to make their lives feel horrible so that maybe they would be afraid enough or worried enough to change? Yes, but I didn't want them to change for me or manipulation. I wanted them to change for themselves. I wanted them to have a change of heart, which meant that I couldn't force. So this brings up trust. Now, if you happen to see the episode of The World's Strictest Parents that I was on back in 2009, you see this amazing moment where James, who's one of the 17-year-olds that's visiting our home at that time, he starts going out of control. In fact, he's almost ready to run away. And I looked at him with love and I said, James, give me a hug. And he and I embraced. I hugged him and I told him how much I trusted that he could do this, that he could control this behavior that was getting at him right now, and that he could be successful that night we were going to a gala together. He changed at that moment. When he saw, I'm not trying to make you do anything. Let's just connect here. Let me just express to you how much I trust in you. I've had 4 babies of my own, and never did I look at any of those little babies and think, what a bad baby. They're not bad babies. They can make mistakes and choose wrong things for sure, but they have a lot of potential and they have a lot of goodness in there too. And I learned as a foster parent and while I was raising my own children that I had to trust in that goodness that was in there. I had to see it and rely on the fact that it could rise to the top if that was the part I nurtured instead of the hate and the disconnect. Because when you get aggressive, that's actually what you're nurturing. Their hate, their disconnect from you, their annoyance, their self-centeredness. And that's definitely not what we want, right? All right, the next tone element is acceptance. Do you really accept them? Even with all their little weird quirks, you know, there are certain ages where children go through, in our family we call it they're weird. You know, they go through this time where they're trying kind of ridiculous jokes. They get a little bit lazy. Maybe their hygiene is suffering a little bit. They don't know how to dress themselves very good. They maybe get a little bit chunky. Maybe they, you know, different things like that that happen because their bodies are changing and growing. And can we just accept that they're changing and growing? Can we? We have to. What about addictions and some of these hard things that our children are going to be combating? In this day and age, our children are going to be combating all kinds of addictive things. Not just substances, but we're talking media addictions, sexual addictions, gaming addictions, social addictions, food addictions. There's so many things that children are dealing with. And even though we need to help them because that's good leadership, we do need to accept, okay, that happened. I don't have to take it personally that my child chose to engage in something or saw something, maybe even when it wasn't their choice. I don't have to take it personally. I've just got to be here to help them go through this. So that is one of the keys or tone elements for success that we need in our family. So do you accept when bad things happen? Or do you get mad and take it personally and get annoyed that you have to take the time to help them? I hope not. Because this is what you were meant for. And as long as you fight against the parenting, which is your vital role, you'll never find happiness in it. And you will have a lot more emotion that you have to deal with yourself too. So accept stuff happens, even if it's hitting somebody or whatever it is that they do that wasn't a good choice, and then help them move forward. We're going to get to these next tone elements and get into skills and structure, but before we do that, hit that subscribe button. This video is meant to help you, but not just you, other people too. And when you subscribe to this channel, not only will you see more useful content, but other people will end up getting more notifications about classes like this too. Subscribe now. Tone element number 3 is love and mercy. So I know you love your children. You would not spend this time to watch this full class if you did not love your children. And I know that. But sometimes they annoy us. Have you experienced that before? Sometimes we even get to the point where we start to fall out of love with our children. So we've got to be mindful of that and make sure that we always feel that connection there. We've got to nurture it all the time. And we have to have a plan for if we start getting selfish or annoyed. So there are multiple things that you can do to bring this love back into the picture. One thing that you could do if you're a praying person is you could start to pray to love them on a regular basis, or especially when they are having a hard time. If you're maybe not a praying sort of person, then what you could do is you could say, wait, what is the thought that I'm having right now? The thought is, they're so annoying, or this is taking so much time. That might be true, but what other truthful thought do you have inside that you could find? What about, this is what's required to help them learn? Or, they need me at this time more than any other. They need me to be calm and ready to talk about this problem. Those are also truths. If we focus on those truths instead of on the annoyances that we might be feeling, we're going to be able to focus back on love. Maybe even just telling yourself, I love them so much, this is worth the effort. That is a truth we can hold on to. So let's look at mercy. Mercy is beautiful. Now, it can't rob justice, but it can be a great teacher. So you want your home to have an element of justice in it. However, if you also have a feeling of mercy, your children will see that you truly are a good leader who cares and who has love. Now let's talk about what mercy can look like, because mercy can look different in different circumstances. Let's say my child is really selfish on their birthday. That can happen. Let's say they lose lots of privileges or earn lots of extra chores on that special day. Well, I want to show them how much I love them, but I also want to be consistent. So maybe this is a really good time to utilize mercy. So what I might do is pull them aside and say, we've had a hard minute just now, haven't we? We went completely out of control. We lost some privileges, things that would be part of our family economy. We're going to be talking about that in a few minutes. And then I would say, you know, this is a special day for you. We've planned for a long time to have this be really special, and we love you so much. We want you to have a wonderful birthday. So I suggest that we postpone your loss of privileges until tomorrow, the day after your birthday, so that you can enjoy this day, which is your special day. Wow, what does that show? That shows we still have justice, we still have consistency in our family. I want to make sure you learn the lessons because I'm a good leader, but I also want you to have this special time. Isn't that amazing? Now, you can't use mercy on everything all the time, otherwise it does rob your justice and your consistency falls apart. But it can be really powerful. There's another thing about mercy that a lot of people don't understand. When a person is going out of control, when they're getting angry or upset or depressed or crying and they're wallowing in emotion, they need mercy. Many people think that looks like leaving them alone or don't do anything, don't talk to them. But that's not merciful at all. In fact, they have now proven that if you allow a person to just spiral down, 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 without stopping them or helping them pull out of it sooner, they actually get to a really bad place, a hard place, a place of shame, a place where they start hating themselves and other people. We don't want our children to get to that place. So what would a merciful parent do? The merciful parent would correct them. The merciful parent would help them get to a place of calmness. They would help disengage that emotional and engage that logical. And I'm going to be talking about how to do that. So remember that as you correct your children, you're actually showing mercy, especially if it's done with the right tone. Number 4 tone element is seeking to understand. If there's one thing I learned as a foster parent, it's that the majority of the children that are going out of control or have difficult behaviors to overcome actually feel like nobody gets them. Nobody's understanding. There are some key things that we can do as parents to seek to understand. In fact, there's a skill we're going to be talking about a little bit later in this class called disagreeing appropriately that's going to help them cue us to understand. But we can also remember that when they're going out of control, we can look at the situation and say, wait a minute, what am I not understanding about this situation? What are they trying to tell me? And sometimes even if they're going out of control, if we can just say something like, I know you think I don't understand how much you want to go to the party. I want to understand more of that, but we need to choose to be calm first, then we can talk about it. So that right there says, we're going toward calmness. I'm not going to discuss it now, but I know you don't feel understood and I want to understand. Just that alone makes a huge difference in the anxiety level of the child right then in the minute when they're having a hard time. So you remembering to seek to understand can truly be magical for them when they are having their hardest moments. Number 5 is actually probably the most important of all of these tone elements because it supports them all. Without calmness, you actually are not able to seek to understand. Your stress will take over. Your anxiety yourself will take over. You won't take the time to stop yourself and ask those vital questions. Also, if you don't have calmness, even though you love them, you might not be showing it because that anger will take over and you won't think of mercy. You will think only of being vindictive usually, right? Or maybe what this is doing to you because you could turn into a victim too if you don't have calmness. You won't be accepting them because you won't take the time to think about what's really going on. And trust will be difficult when you're getting to a place of force or emotional coercion. So calmness is huge. In fact, at the very end of this class, I am going to give you a free gift so that you can experience more calmness in your family. I can talk about calmness for an entire hour. In fact, there's another class on this this channel that is dedicated just to teaching your children about calmness, you're going to want to definitely look at that. But you'll also want to go to the Calm Parenting Toolkit, which you're going to get for free at the end. Oh no, I just broke the surprise. But definitely wait to the end because you're going to need that. And I'm going to leave it there because I could talk about calmness for way too long. So let's move on to structure. So almost all of my videos touch on tone or structure, and I teach a lot of skills on this channel. So there's definitely more structure that you could experience than what I'm going to have time to cover today. But I just want to tell you some of the key structural elements that you're going to want to have. So one structural element that you're definitely going to want to use is that you are going to want to teach, okay? So you're going to want to pre-plan the family for success. So you're going to tell the children, this is how we are going to be doing the parenting. These are the skills that we are going to be using for success. You will pre-teach them up front. You will tell them all of your consequences, positive and negative. These are part of something called your family economy. So a family economy, using the old definition of economy, not talking about money here, but talking about just how you run a home. That's your economy. So the family economy is your system of credits and debits in the home, your positive and negative consequences. You want to keep it simple so that it's sustainable. And you're going to teach them ahead of time what this simple structure is going to be and how you're going to use it and how it's not going to change. There are certain ways you can make changes in your economy once it's established and still keep with your structure, but it's not something that you do willy-nilly all of the time. So there are key things in the economy. Number one, understanding the positive consequences. So positive consequences can be just as motivating, if not more, to a person to make a change in behavior or a change in heart as negative consequences can be. Many people don't recognize that. So what are some of the positive consequences that are in your family? Maybe there's things like praise or high fives, or maybe the family will have some motivators sometimes where they'll say, hey, if everybody wakes up on time every day this week, we're going to have an ice cream party on Friday, or something like that. Those are positive consequences that the family could work toward. Some families will say, oh no, we don't have that many positive consequences. Well, then you could at least improve your praising. So praising is a third part of your family economy. If a person is going to learn cause and effect, then good has to equal good and bad has to equal bad. They've got to see that when they do good things and they earn maybe positive consequences, that they are going to get praised, which is a basic positive consequence. And the praise should be more than thank you or good job, because those things are about you. When you praise someone, you tell them exactly what they did well. You say, just now I gave you an instruction and you looked right at me. You kept a calm face, voice, and body. You said okay or asked to disagree appropriately. You did the task immediately and then checked back. You did all 5 steps to following an instruction. Wow, great job. High five. That is a good, effective praise. You should praise your children 6 to 10 times for every 1 time that you correct them. Now ask yourself, if you're honest, do you praise your children 6 to 10 times for every 1 time that they earn a negative consequence? Most people would actually not say that they do. Most people focus more on the negative because they're trying to be productive. Well, what they forget is that praise is actually the #1 teaching style that leads to productivity and improved behaviors. So be sure to praise. The #2 teaching style that is productive is pre-teaching, because if your child knows ahead of time how you'll handle a situation, then they are going to better perform in the moment. There's 3 different ways to use praise. I can't go into those right now. One happens in the moment, one happens way ahead of time, and one happens at the beginning of a new situation. So pre-teaching is really a powerful skill. In fact, a person really doesn't self-govern unless they plan ahead. So let's talk more about this economy really quickly. There are negative consequences that we need to talk about too. Now, I can go into a lot of detail about negative consequences that people use, but instead of saying why I don't use some of these other things or what I've found to not be effective about certain consequences, I'm just just going to tell you what consequences I do use. In our family, we know that work is the antidote for a sick character. When a person will not connect to family or follow basic instructions from their parents, that means they can't be parented. That means their character is actually damaged. So what do they need? They need some work time. So if they don't follow instructions, don't accept no answers or criticism, don't accept consequences, or don't disagree in an appropriate way, then they are going to be earning an extra chore. But that's no big deal. Our children work all the time in our family. It's just part of our family culture that we work together and we enjoy it. And a person can enjoy a negative consequence, just so you know. So if you say, yeah, but my 4-year-old loves work, no big deal. Just still keep using work, because that actually is a great skill to develop, that they learn to enjoy doing a job, right? That's awesome. So that's one of our main ones that we use. It keeps it very simple. So there's always work that needs to be done, or there's always little instructions you can give, like, oh, I need you to take these shoes to your room, or I need you to throw this piece of paper away in the garbage. That's a task. It's a chore. It's tiny, but it's still an extra chore, and it teaches the cause and effect that they need. Now, if a person goes completely out of instructional control, we have 3 other negative consequences that we use to help them come back into instructional control. I'm not going to go into those here, but we have a type of a calm down process that I will be discussing in another video all about calmness. So be sure to look that up. So this brings us to skills. Skills are super important. Now, we've been talking about some parent skills. There are 5 teaching styles that parents need to know, okay, which are pre-teaching, praise, corrective teaching, intensive teaching, and parent counseling sessions. Knowing how to do all 5 of those teaching styles will prepare you for any situation, literally any. When the BBC asked me if I would take in these children, they told me all these things about them, trying to psych me out, and I said, you don't understand, I'm not worried. There's nothing I haven't seen. With all of the foster children and that intense high-level parenting that I had done, there was literally nothing I wasn't prepared for. I had a tone, I had a structure, and I knew that I could deliberately follow through on it because I had done it. I had self-governed myself. That's the key. Okay, that's the not so known secret. Self-government, right? Okay, so let's talk about skills for the children first, and then we'll touch a little bit more on some of these. Skills for the children. There are 4 basic skills that every person needs for success. Let's talk about those. So let's talk about the 4 basic skills that a person needs to learn self-mastery. And even though I'm going to show you these children's books, which each teach one of the 4 basic skills, I want you to know that these skills are for all ages. Remember, I taught them to youth ages 12 to 18. The BBC program, I taught them to 2 17-year-olds. And my children from birth to graduation have all learned these 4 basic skills. And guess what? I've had to learn them too. So what are these 4 basic skills? This book here, London LaRae Says Okay, teaches the skill following instructions. This book here, Porter Earns a Quarter, teaches the skill accepting no answers and criticism. This book, Page Takes the Stage, teaches disagreeing appropriately. That is their favorite skill. And by the way, this is the gateway skill to self-government. If a person can learn how to disagree appropriately, that actually disengages their emotional and engages their prefrontal cortex. Oh, it's so powerful. And if it works, they'll use all of the other skills. And parents have to teach them that it works. So this book, Big Win for Quinn, teaches how to accept consequences. A person cannot learn self-government unless they get the opportunity to accept their consequences. Now, I have multiple videos that talk about these skills. In fact, there's some videos where I'm actually with other children and we're role-playing some of these skills. So you may want to check out some of those videos. But let me just tell you what the steps to the skills are. So to follow an instruction, you look at the person, keep a calm face, voice, and body, say okay or ask to disagree appropriately, do the task immediately, and then check back. Looking at the person is key. When you can look at a person, you see inside of them. There's an old adage that says that your eyes are the windows to your soul, and it's absolutely true. You notice when a person is trying to be distant from you, they don't look at you. They're like, yeah, whatever. They won't look at you. But when they truly have integrity, they want to be connected to you, they will look at you. So this gives you an indicator of where your relationship is at if a person won't look at you or if they're trying to hide something. So establishing a pattern of always looking at the person makes good, honest, heartfelt interaction. When I have a child that's going out of control, or even just when I'm giving them an instruction, I will look right at them and I will think, I love you. I love you. And I will think of sending my love from my heart to them. That's the power of eyes and eye contact. This is me showing I trust you. I trust you're good. And then the second step, keep a calm face, voice, and body. Do you remember one of those tone elements is calm? Do they know the difference between calm and not calm? Do they really? Have they practiced it? Have they role-played it? They need experience going back and forth between the opposites so that they can recognize, okay, this is really my calm. I know what it is. So that they can use it. And guess what? You might need that same type of practice too. Because we are all robots. We have all been programmed already. Okay? When we hear a certain word and it triggers us in a certain way, we think a certain thought and we do the same action every time. And then every time we say, why did I do that? Why did I say that? I don't want to do that. Well, what we're saying is, please help me self-govern. Self, can't you do better than that? The answer is yes, but you have to reprogram yourself. So some people think learning these skill sets seems a little robotic. Well, maybe it is, but you're already a robot, so how about you just do some reprogramming so that you can have better results for all of your actions? And you know what? It truly is magical. When the family has a script and a dialogue that they are familiar with each other, they have the same vocabulary, it puts them on the same page, they can communicate effectively, and all of those corrections and instructions and no answers don't take all your time anymore. Now those are just little things that we do to help the family function, but the real understanding, the real bonding, the real experiences happen in all of the real time instead. So that's the goal. That's what we're going for. So calm face, voice, and body, super important. Then they need to be able to say okay, which means that they are okay with you telling them that they need to do something, and they're telling themselves, I'm okay, right? And then they can also disagree appropriately at that time, which is another one of those great skills. Then they do the task immediately. This helps those dawdlers, and then they check back. Now, why would I have them come check back to me? That takes more of my time. It takes more of their time. Well, because I need to praise them 6 to 10 times for every one time I correct them. This means there has to be positive cause and effect. So they are going to come and check back with me so that I can turn around and give them the praise that they need. That way, they are going to be getting more praise than correction. So this is powerful. So every one of those 4 basic skills has a skill set like that. I don't have time to teach all of them here. I don't want to keep you forever. Plus, they're on other videos on this channel, and we'll be able to learn more about those as you get to the free gift that I'm going to be giving you here at the end. But let's talk about disagreeing appropriately, because I feel like that's a really powerful skill. So when a person learns to disagree appropriately, what they do is they look at the person, they keep a calm face, voice, and body. So that's just the same, right? For the same reasons. Then what they do is they say that they understand the other person's point of view. That's super important. People forget that part. That is the part that fully disengages you and puts you into the prefrontal cortex, so you stop getting emotional about whatever is happening. You seek to understand the other person. Remember our tone elements? And then you seek to be understood. So then you explain your point of view, and then you allow the person to make a decision. They say no or they say yes. It doesn't matter, because you already know how to accept a no answer. That's another skill set that has 4 steps to it. So if a person says yes, then you say great, thanks. And if not, then you say okay, and you drop the subject. Drop the subject. This is huge. How many people ruminate and ruminate, spin and spin like that little thing on the computer in their own head? So many. And it hurts them. So what if they knew they had the power to say, okay, I'm not going to think about this anymore. I'm going to drop the subject. We can't control everybody. We can't get everything we want all the time. And sometimes a person has a position of authority over us, like a parent, and we need to honor it and accept the no answer and let it be done. Did you know we have to teach them to do that? They don't necessarily come to it on their own. We don't want passive children. We want assertive children who make decisions to drop subjects, not just cower in fear because they don't like something that we've told them. So there are other skills for the parents, like I mentioned. A really important one is correction. How are we going to correct the behaviors? And are we going to be consistent at it? Okay, that's super important. So structure without consistency means nothing. If you make a structure, but you're not consistent with your structure, everything's going to fall apart. Parents tell me all the time, Nicholeen, I want all of this, but my struggle is consistency. This is a really common parent problem, and it's because we all get so distracted, we get very entitled, we don't like to work, we get selfish. This happens in affluent societies. And quite frankly, we do live in very affluent times. We are lucky to have all the conveniences that we have, but this sometimes makes us not want to do the corrections. If we don't do the corrections, we are not being merciful, remember? It's super important that we correct them, but that we do it in a way that is calm and not emotional. There are steps to a correction that I teach in my parenting course, my Teaching Self-Government Parenting course that you can find on teachingselfgovernment.com. Those steps were life-changing for me. When I decided I wasn't going to react anymore, but step number one, I was going to describe. And I wasn't going to describe how I felt and how something hurt me in a bad way. No, I was going to describe this is what happened, and then this is what happened, and then this is what you've earned. And then I was going to say, this is why it's not a good idea. This is what you should do instead. And so you have chosen to earn this negative consequence, which is probably going to be an extra chore almost every time. And then I'm going to praise them for saying, okay, and accepting it, because that's one of their 4 basic skills, is accepting a consequence, right? So once they go through that 6-step process and they accept that consequence, I'm going to praise them. And then after that, I'm going to practice things with them the right way so we don't have the problem again in the future. More pre-teaching, because if we don't practice things the right way more than the wrong way, we're going to get stuck doing them the wrong way more often than not. So let's talk about this final structural element that we're going to talk about today. So the structure is meetings, okay? Meetings. If you are going to pre-teach your elements, your skills, if you are going to work a good family economy, if you're going to really have understanding and show caring and trust for other people, you've got to have specific times to talk. So in our family, we have 3 different meetings. We have couples meeting, we have family meeting, that's everybody together, and then we have individual mentor meetings where they have a special time just with mom and dad to talk about things related to them, not just their behaviors, but school stuff, social stuff, ways that we can help them, things that are coming up in their lives. These are meetings that they actually love. I know when people hear meetings, they think of the office and they go, oh no, I do not want to have meetings at home. But think, if you've owned a business before, as I have and my husband has, would you ever just start something out? You've got this grand plan for this business. In this case, it would be this grand plan for your family. You've got this grand plan, but then you never actually deliberately get everybody on the same page with it. You never actually discuss the problems and work out some of the kinks. You would never do that in a business. Your family culture, your family business is so much more important than any job or career, that type of business for sure. So we've got to take the time. But what we can do is make sure it doesn't take all of our time. So these meetings have time limits attached to them so that they don't turn into lecture sessions or become negative. They need to be things that we feel like we can get through. For instance, one guideline we have with the family meeting is that family meeting is not going to take longer than 20 minutes. Everyone knows it. That means we need to be laser focused and we don't need to be arguing. But we do take votes. There's a structure to that meeting where everyone has a voice, but parents still do maintain some parental authority. But during these meetings, they take ownership over the family culture and bonding in with everyone else, and they take ownership over their own behaviors. That is so powerful. That's what our children need. Do you know they're so passive and so lazy nowadays? And I'm not saying yours are, but many people are struggling with this. So many children are passive and lazy because they don't actually get invited in to make solutions to problems that they see. They don't actually get invited to change their behavior in order to bond better. Now, I know many parents think, I'm inviting my child to change their behavior all the time. Yeah, but just nagging a person to do that or telling them, ooh, that's not a good way, is not enough. They need to know the why of things. And that why can come into place in these meetings, in these talk times. And what it does for your relationship too is truly magical. Take the time to meet and you will have a more united family. As you can see, I could talk about the elements of self-government and what it really takes to change a heart and unite a family for a very long time. In fact, I have 3-day trainings that I do where couples will come either digitally or in person, and they will get the training that they need to be on the same page. I've got online courses, books and resources, so many things that people use to learn even more than I was able to present to you today. But I tried to give you as much as I could. I talked as fast as I could as well. But now I do want to give you a free gift. Because you stayed with me all the way to the end, I would like to give you access to my Calm Parenting Toolkit for free. This is a perfect first step in learning self-government for you and your family. Remember how important calmness is? Well, let's start learning more about calmness, the 6 steps for how to be calm when somebody isn't and how to help them get calm without losing your calmness at the same time. Below this video in the description section, there is a link that says teachselfgov.com/toolkit. Click on that link to the toolkit and you will be able to get the Teaching Self-Government Calm Parenting Toolkit for free. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.